Good afternoon. Thanks for taking the time to visit with me. My name is Rick DeFiesta. I'm the Executive Vice President of Sales for Geekplus America. I'd like, by a show of hands, has anybody had a chance to get by our booth this morning? Anyone? 2, 3? All right. How many of you know who Geekplus is? Can I ask that? All right. And I'm going to ask how many of you are in operations, whether you're running a manufacturing site or a distribution center? Okay, awesome. All right, well, we're talking about my topic. Don't get locked in. So the main topic here is the need for flexibility. Looking up at the slide, you see items about people, right? So what has been the biggest challenge to at least Geekplus customers? It's been the type of people or the number of people that they can get. So you're looking into flexibility, meaning what can we install that allows us to make up for a couple of things? Well, one is the lack of people. I'll tell you right now, 70% of the majority of companies that we speak to have a difficult time even getting to 70% of staffing. 70% of their staff that is capable of doing the tasks needed to fill their orders every day. Going a little south here of the border, I even have some customers that on Mondays, they schedule 150% of staffing, hoping that on Monday morning, they have 100% of the people to do the work. So even in countries where you would think that staffing would be abundant, they're finding that not to be the case. So we also know that more and more people are dropping out of the workplace. We also know that, a lot of baby boomers are retiring. And the other challenge, of course, is that people just don't want to do the work, right? How many of you are from California? Anybody? Okay. I was there a few months ago and walked into a place called In-N-Out Burger. I'm sure many of you have heard of that. And the sign in the window said, "We're hiring," starting at $20 an hour at In-N-Out Burger. So you take a warehouse that might pay, $11, $13. So I can work in this warehouse picking things, or I could work in In-N-Out Burger, wear a nice uniform, air conditioning, hang out with my friends, get a Coke when I need it. So what would these people rather do, right? So what is the motivation for warehouse workers to want to work in your facilities? So and if you look at the task of what a selector does, because we're talking about order fulfillment and flexibility is, so what are they really doing? So if you look at, if you can improve their workplace and to improve their productivity, what would you want them to do? Only be selecting, right? If you look at the typical warehouse selector in a conventional warehouse, 40 to 60% of their time is spent traveling, right? Looking, traveling, finding. So if you were able to eliminate that portion, that would potentially increase their productivity by approximately 2x, in some cases 3x, right? So what you want to do is minimize travel. Also, by having product delivered to you, you're probably going to find the right location, right? So what's causing the inefficiency of a lot of selectors? So when you walk through a warehouse and you're bringing on new associates, what is the biggest challenge for them? It's one thing you walk them through the warehouse. Where is aisle A? Where is lot B? Where is location 1, 2, 3? So it's really, and then learning a handheld device, right? It's what does F12 do? What does F8 do? So you're throwing technologies at people. They're having to learn this technology. They're having to learn how to find something in your warehouse, right? And whereas when they get to the location, are they at the right location? So what you want to minimize are shorts, or wrong location, miscounts, shorts, and basically eliminate that travel and walking that a lot of these selectors do. So this is why, as you walk around this facility, and I know there's a few other competing technologies in this room, why goods to person or aisle pick or directing the person to the location is becoming so popular. For the main reason to be that you're eliminating this looking and finding portion of their work. Then, as you walk around this building, you'll see, as I mentioned, a lot of technologies, and you'll see a lot of tote-based systems. Well, now it gets into the question, does one size fit all, right? Do your items fit in a tote? Does it make sense to put items in a tote? Especially if you're having high volumes of something. Shoes, for example. Most companies that pick shoes, they want the shoe boxes laying flat so they can see the end panels. Well, that doesn't work so well in a tote, because if you're going to stand shoes up in a tote, you usually have to do something to close the box, like a rubber band, but they want to be able to see the end panels. Or they're going to be forced to having single SKU, meaning one item in that tote, so they can just pick from the bottom or from the top down, right? So they don't have to look at the end panels. But to maximize queues, especially in shoes, you want to see the end panels. So comparing that to fixed infrastructure, the large challenge today is, okay, I don't know if I have enough people, I don't know my SKU base is changing, and can I really fit them all into totes? Well, this gets back to the big challenge today of what does my business look like 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, right? For those of you that were having to deal with COVID, especially in distribution, you saw that your business may have grown as much as 9x, 10x, 12x from your bricks and mortar to delivering to customers. And then you're trying to look at, well, what kind of automation would I put into place to handle that big change, and what will I need in 5 years? How do you do a forecast during those types of issues like the pandemic? Is it going to go away? Are people's buying habits going to change? And we've seen that the trend is continuing, right? People can prefer to buy online, but at what pace? So when you're looking at fixed automation, you're pretty much committing, do I want to build to this much, and will my forecast meet the requirements so we can justify the ROI or the spend for that particular item? So this gets back into looking into flexibility and scalability. So when looking at automation, flexibility, scalability, one is the labor constraints. Do you struggle to hire and retain labor? The storage and throughput, what do I need today? What will I need tomorrow? And what will I need a few years from now? What is the ROI? Well, if you're looking at a solution that's 5 years away, how do you short-term come up with any short-term type of ROI? And the other is disruptions. Are you willing to meet market volatility and your future requirements? So those of you that deal with 3PLs or in the 3PL world, your customers change. Not only is it just your product changes, your SKU base changes, but many times you actually have a change of customers. Well, how do you deal with that, right? So this was a site that we did where we actually had to move from one side of the building to another building. And we also then implemented a system while the other system was running. So those of you that know our products, we have what's called shelf to person. And we bring these shelves, open shelves, we call our P800 shelves to person. So this company implemented an entire system, and then they had a change of a customer. They installed it in one portion of their building and decided that they now needed to use that portion of the building for another customer. So what we did is we literally created a path where the bots moved all of the inventory to another side of the building. So while they were selecting and still picking orders, this system was moving itself over to another side of the building. And then once it was done, they continued to pick there. And then we installed this other system where we were able to put in our, to where we can, I'll just run the video again as I'm talking. To where we are then able to phase in what we now have as totes to person using our pop pick solution. So once this went live, once we were able to debug it, we were able to put in a small portion of the system. So again, if you have a chance to come by our booth, you will see a pop pick station there. This particular site has almost 50 of those stations, and we were able to deploy a small piece of it, and then as they started moving product into it, we just slowly expanded it. We have a very large site located somewhere else right now that's by Kentucky. The customer, same thing, had an existing operation. They were using static shelving. Their inventory was only 66% accurate because things were literally falling out of their shelves onto the floor. They just ran out of space and wanted to increase their density and, of course, increase their labor productivity. So what they did is we cleared an area. We put in 2,000 racks and workstations. And then what we did is we slowly, as they went live and moved it over into the working system, we eventually added more and more racks, more workstations, and more robots, all with zero disruption, basically. So this is the type of scalability that these types of solutions can offer. And you're able to put them in brownfields. Majority of our sites are existing operations that cannot completely clear a space to be able to implement these systems, because you're literally taking a system down. So by just clearing a small space allows you to do that. But taking the same phased approach allows you to not overcommit, right? We can go into a facility. We can work with you to come up with a design where this says this solution will meet your 5-year forecast. And then you could implement something that might be year 2. You understand what it's going to look like in year 5, but you don't have to commit. So this way, if you're meeting forecast in year 2, year 3, you can expand incrementally. But if you're not meeting forecast, you didn't overcommit, you've only done the spend that you spent, or if you find that you're exceeding forecast, you can very quickly add on, even to the point of potentially moving this entire system to another location in the building or literally into another facility. So, to summarize this don't be fixed. The idea of flexibility, scalability. Do you want to put things in a tote? Do you want to put things on a shelf? Do you want to put things on a pallet? Well, what you want to look for is a partner that has the capability of doing all of those in the same system. Again, with a phased approach, so you're not overcommitting to your initial CapEx spending. The flexible storage, do I need more shelving? Do I need more totes? Do I need more pallets? That can change as your business grows and or your customers change. The amount of training time. So our systems, because they use, and most systems today, use graphical interfaces. They're showing images. So when product is produced or shelves or totes are presented to a workstation, there's usually something on the screen showing where you're picking, what you're picking. You're typically scanning it to confirm that you have the correct item. And then it'll usually light up as you're putting it away, usually a put wall with lights. So everything is directed, and there's very little letters or words. So it's by nature multilingual. So we have many sites. As this technology grows, we're trying to accommodate, well, how do I have all these languages, all these different people that come in our buildings? So we're looking at having everything being directed by graphics, and put and or light. So all directed work. And of course, risk aversion. The idea is that you want to see things that are tried and true. You're taking technologies that have been in the marketplace for some time and now combining those into integrated systems. So with performances comes predictability, right? Because what you want is you want improved associate productivity. The large system that we showed you, they are seeing employee retention increase doubled, basically, that employees are not leaving. They're staying on the job. They're recognizing that their companies are making investments into them. They're not looking at so much the fact that when you have a workstation, it allows your associates to basically create a space for themselves, especially in some unconditioned warehouses. I can now have a space heater or a fan. I can have some pictures of my family. So it really gives them ownership of their space. The other thing is, by having workstations, you kind of take away the socialization that you might have by meeting at the end of the aisles, talking with other associates. The other part is, because you're able to measure all the tasks, you can also add some gamification to the day. Many of our customers would use like displays in their break rooms that would actually show the productivity of either a person, a group. How are you doing for the day? We're at 50% completion. It's noon. That makes sense. But in some cases where you're managing, say, temporary labor, by having these types of metrics, you might be able to determine, can I send some people home early today? Or do I need to bring extra people in? Just basically, how are we doing? So the standardized workflow is easy to learn. We've had presidents of companies come into sites and ask, can I pick? And their comment is always, if I can do it, anybody could do it, right? Because it's not something that they've been accustomed to or having to do. You find there's decreased wasted time. Automation in many cases, because it's able to run while your shift is away. The systems are basically able to preload the workstations. So if you know that you're going to have X amount of workstations, as you drop your orders for the day, they're basically, as soon as your personnel log in, they basically walk up to a kiosk, log in, and their work is being assigned. So they're literally picking the moment that they walk in into that workstation. You also can ensure inventory control. In many of these types of solutions, because they're not easily accessible, you're finding that you're able to monitor your valued goods and your inventory much closer, because it isn't easy to find. And in some cases, you can't even get to these items. In some solutions, you can actually lock out areas so that you can monitor everything that's being selected by any personnel. We actually have one large customer that what they do is, when they bring the shelves to person to the workstation, it actually passes through an RFID portal. So it looks at everything that's on that shelf before it brings it to the workstation. And after they select, it goes back through the portal to determine, is everything there that's supposed to be there? So if you wanted to go to that extent to where you're looking and auditing that particular fixture, tote, what have you, you can actually do that with these types of technologies. And of course, you're reducing excess costs by, again, not having to make that overinvestment up front. So again, the flexibility, the scalability is more about customers being able to teach their associates, maintain their associates, also for your changing customer base, your SKU base, because let's face it, in the order fulfillment world, what it looks like today is not how it looks like 2-3 months or even a year later. So with that, I'll take any questions if there is any.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So if it's going through the portal to check that inventory is correct with what's been picked or what's coming out of it, if it's out of sync, what happens?
So immediately it can flag a supervisor, right? So we can put in logs, we can put in alarms. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but you can track it through the day and say, okay, this particular person. If it's high value items, you obviously want to look at it immediately. But if you find that that it's something that might be a mistake or error and you just want to track it, for example, if you're refilling your own stores, if you're kind of a closed system and you occasionally have a short or an overage delivered to your own store, not so much a big deal, right? But if it's going to a customer, right, then you are looking for that accuracy. Where it really matters is when you have a multi-client and you send the wrong brand to somebody, right? That really is a big deal. So these are the things that you can help minimize or take immediate action when you flag that, because then you can even flag the order, send a supervisor over, make the correction, but in the case if it's a high value item, you may want to do some further investigation. So, but thank you for your question. Anything else? All right. Well, again, thank you so much, giving you some time back in your day. Please, if you get a chance, we're in Hall C. We'd be happy to show you these other technologies that we're displaying. And of course, welcome, chat with us in there. There's plenty of people to answer your questions. All right, thank you.